Hello everyone, welcome to EduTerrain and a warm good evening to you all. Yes, just give me a second. Yes. So here we are again with yet another interesting scheme that is important for your upcoming all competitive examinations, especially NABARD, AFO, RBI के लिए भी ये important रहेगा. If not the nuances of the scheme, but at least the basic details of the scheme that would be important. Okay, so with this introduction, let me start today's session. There are two schemes that we are going to do here. One, it is a price support scheme, which again is under PM ASHA. Okay, PM ASHA scheme, Pradhan Mantri Annadata Ay Sanrakshan Abhiyan. So under this will study PSS scheme. PSS may again will have lot of commodities that they look into for purchasing, procurement agencies work, MIS-PSS and all that we'll have to look. After that, market intervention scheme. Now this is an ad hoc scheme. That is, it is not until and unless a request is raised by the state. This will not kick in that state. Okay. So kaise hoga, kya hoga, all that we'll be looking into in the session. Yes. So before that, these are my credentials. You can go through it later as well. And price support scheme. It is a part of the new umbrella scheme, that is Pradhan Mantri Annadata Ay Sanrakshan Abhiyan, that is PM ASHA scheme, that has three components. One of those components is the price support scheme. Okay. Now the implementing agency for this scheme is Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Okay, under which Department of Agriculture and Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare वो है उसमें. Okay, that will be looking into this scheme, and it was launched in 2018. उससे पहले regular procurement होता था under MIS-PSS, but after that, in order to create a scheme wherein everything can be looked into related to the procurement, MIS-PSS, everything, that all would be taken under this scheme thoroughly. Now, if you look at the current affairs, especially when it comes to budgetary allocations for this year, 2024-25 interim budget, the budget that has been allocated for this particular scheme, not PSS, PM ASHA scheme wholly. Okay, उसमें एक part है PSS. For that 1738 crores. Actually, it is down by 21% based on the amount that was spent in 2023-24. This as per the revised budgetary estimates of 2023-24. Okay, now as I've said, PM ASHA scheme में three components है. One of that is this price support scheme. बाकी दो components कौन से हैं? When we look at the PM ASHA scheme, which is an umbrella scheme that has three components. One, the price support scheme. Price support scheme is the one wherein we are trying to support the farmers by purchasing the produce at MSP. Okay, at MSP, thereby supporting them in the marketing of their produce without any problem. Second is the price deficiency payment scheme. Now when we talk about price support scheme, here it is physical procurement would be there, that is whoever the procurement agencies, centralized procurement agencies with the help of state agencies will procure the produce from the farmer, be it wheat, rice, pulses, oilseeds, anything, copra also, that all will be physically procured and it would be stored in their respective warehouses. Okay, but when it comes to price deficiency payment scheme, here there won't be no physical procurement, and this basically focuses on the oil seeds. Then how will the farmers benefit? See, whenever the market price crashes or goes below MSPs, when will that happen? When there is glut in the market. Seasonal business है. Obviously, अगर produce आ रहा है तो everything, the entire produce will come to the market at a time, almost in a certain period. So what will happen? There will be glut in the market, and whenever there is, the supply is more than the demand, obviously the prices crash. There comes these procurement agencies. Whenever such prices crash, that is the prices going below MSPs, they come forward and purchase the produce. But here in this case, there won't be any purchasing. Rather, whatever the difference between the market price and the MSP, that differential amount would be deposited into the farmer's account, thereby financially supporting him or her in this price crash timing. Okay, again, as part of this, the centralized and the state procurement agencies will be working in tandem for this purpose. Okay, third is the pilot of private procurement and stockist scheme. Now here the states, it's on their wish, they can run this scheme as pilot, wherein we all know that the Commodities Act के हिसाब से they can't hoard, but sometimes like big companies, manufacturers, they have to procure these like wheat etc. and store them so that they can utilize for the manufacturing of various like biscuits, flour etc. whatever purpose for which they are procuring for the entire year. Okay, so here rather than these procurement agencies procuring physically from the market and storing, कई बार ऐसा होता है कि what will they do with this, whatever the commodities that they are procuring, that would be sent through midday meal scheme for integrated child development services or PDS or Annapurna program, various programs, welfare schemes जो होते हैं उसमें they'll send this procured food items only, that is commodities. But sometimes even after sending that, there are a lot that would be kept with them, that is because of various reasons, because of lack of demand and whatever. Already they have fulfilled their criteria. So in order to avoid that, currently for that open market sale scheme is also being run, wherein once all these requirements are fulfilled, if still there is any commodity that is still lying in the godowns of these centralized agencies, they sell it in the open market through a particular scheme, that is open market scheme, sale scheme. Okay, OMSS it's called as. But instead of that, what government is planning is, why not, when they have requirement and here we have glut in the market, why not ask them to procure rather than we win-win situation. The farmers will sell the produce at the MSP only without any loss, and the companies, the manufacturers or who are into this food commodities procurement, they'll also get the raw material on timely basis. So for which this pilot was launched. Iska koi data as such I haven't got. Excuse me. Okay, wherever you feel like you have any doubts, please keep on asking me. Okay, now when we talk about this price support scheme, what is the objective? Okay, ensuring remunerative prices to the farmers for their produce, and the increase in MSP can improve farmers' income by strengthening procurement mechanism in coordination with the state governments. Always whenever these procurements happen related to the commodities, that would always be in tandem, that is सबसे पहले their central government agencies. Okay, central government agencies, they will in tandem with the state government agencies procure them from the farmers. Okay, and whatever that they are procuring, always within 3 days they have to pay. The central agencies, centralized procurement agencies, they have to pay to the state government agencies or primary procurement agencies within 3 days, and within 3 days they have to pay to the farmers. MSP and ऊपर से कुछ खर्च हो रहा है, all that they have to pay. What are that? We'll discuss in some time. Now, as I've said, central nodal agencies will procure pulses, oilseeds, copra, paddy, wheat, etc. And when we look at that, it is FCI and National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India, that is FCI and NAFED, are the main procurement agencies when it comes to the procurement of cereals, pulses, oilseeds and copra. Okay, now FCI, it is under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, okay, and Public Distribution, Food and Public Distribution. And when NAFED, it is under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So both these ministries are involved in this, especially when it comes to the procurement of food grains, that is cereals especially, that will be taken care of by FCI, which is under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs and Food and Public Distribution, and the others, that is under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Okay, Urban. See, Urban, when it comes to RBI exam, this would be important. Basic the components. Okay, and one more important point I forgot to highlight. When it comes to price deficiency payment scheme, it is based, जैसे PM Kisan Samman Nidhi, that is based on a scheme, Raitu Bandhu scheme that has been launched by the state of Telangana, right? So similarly, price deficiency payment scheme, it is based on the Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana and Bhavantar Bharpai Yojana of MP, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan respectively. Okay, ये part समझ लीजिए, and these basic details of these schemes would be important. Objectives also would be important for your RBI exam. And which are the central nodal agencies that are looking into the procurement of these, that also will be important, like here FCA and NABARD. And here the procurement expenditure and losses due to the procurement, it all would be borne by the central government as per the norms that have been already laid out. Okay, that is the responsibility of the central government. In this case, we are talking about the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare and the Ministry of Consumer Affairs both. Now, when we talk about the procurement, you must be wondering how much should be procured as per the laid out norms. Okay, the government will procure 25% of the marketable surplus of farmers for the eligible crops. So, marketable surplus is something, whatever the farmer is raising the crop, generally he keeps something for himself and the rest he will sell it out. Okay, so in this case, whatever the produce that the farmer is ready to sell out, of that 25% would be procured. Okay, but in few cases this can be increased as well. See, when we talk about this particular scheme, it is a centrally sponsored scheme, and up till 25% procurement, entire whatever the expenses that are there, that would be borne by the central government. But there is a point that helps the state governments as well. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि state governments also will run their own welfare schemes, right? So where would they get those commodities, agriculture commodities from? So in this case, up to 25% the central government will do. If there is any procurement beyond 25%, which can go up to 40% again, not more than that. This 25 to 40%, whatever the expenses that are to be borne, that would be borne by the state government, and whatever that is procured over and above 25% till 40%, that can be used by that respective state government for their own welfare schemes. Many a times it happens at state levels, state governments also will run their own schemes. Very, very important. Up to 25% that has to be procured by central government. After beyond that, whatever that is procured, that would come into the account of state government. And very recently, in order to help the farmers, pulses farmers, especially those who are growing tur, urad and masoor, government has removed this procurement ceiling of 25 to 40%, and they are procuring beyond that for these under PSS operation. This was only for 2023-24. जो 40% ceiling है, that they have removed. Okay, only for 1 year. अगर फिर से उनको करना है, they will again notify it. Otherwise, this is what the standard is, up to 25% central government, 25 to 40% state government. Beyond that होता नहीं है, but last year it has been done. That is अभी March 31st तक रहेगा ये. Okay, now as I have said, procurement agencies. Which are those procurement agencies? Let's have a quick look at them. The National Agriculture, these procurement agencies would be important for your RBI exam as well. कौन से procurement agencies है under PM ASHA scheme? So the National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India Limited, that is NABARD, and National Cooperative Consumer Federation of India Limited, that is NCCF. They are the central nodal agencies for the coconut growing states, for the coconut procurement. Okay, along with, they also, NABARD also goes for pulses and oil seeds as well, but less, because majority of that would be done by the FCI only. Okay, so FCI, it is a central nodal agency for cereals, pulses and oil seeds. And please be very, very careful, कौन सा organization, कौन से ministry के under आता है, that also will be important. So here NAFED and NCCF, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. FCI, that would be under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Cotton Corporation of India, it is a central nodal agency for undertaking the price support operations for cotton. Jute Corporation of India, on the other hand, for undertaking the price support operations for jute. Now both these CCI and JCI, they work under the ambit of Ministry of Textiles. Okay, important. So here there are three ministries that are involved under PSS, price support scheme. And who is the one that recommends the MSPs and all that, based on which the procurement is happening? That all is done by the CAGP. Okay, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. It is the one that recommends the MSPs of 23 mandated crops. उसमें 22 crops का MSPs होता है and 1 crop का FRP होता है. FRP, that is fair and remunerative price for sugarcane, and for the rest of the 22 mandated crops, that would be minimum support prices. And one more important point, when we talk about this procurement for each and every commodity, there is an FAQ defined by the respective procurement agencies. Now FAQ क्या है? ये frequently asked questions नहीं है. It is fair and average quality. So for every commodity they have an FAQ that इतना लंबा grain होना चाहिए, brokens इतना होना चाहिए, other physical material इतना होना चाहिए. मतलब they'll have everything in place. Based on that only procurement is done. If FAQ is not met, that is whatever the produce that the farmer is getting, if it is not up to the standards, that will not be accepted. Okay, very very important again FAQ here. Based on that only it would be done. Now, as I've said, PSS, PDPS and pilot PPSS, that is pilot private procurement and stockist scheme, price deficiency payment scheme and price support scheme. They're all implemented by the Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare. And for other MSP notified crops like wheat, paddy, other cereals, it all would be done by the FCI, which is under the Ministry of Food and Public Distribution and Consumer Affairs, and cotton and jute implemented by the Ministry of Textiles. We have already discussed this. Again, I have highlighted that here again. Okay, next. ये हो गया हमारा price support scheme, which is as part of the PM आशा scheme. PM आशा scheme का भी basics हमने discuss कर लिया है. What are the major components? उतना ही है, उसमें ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है. और if not extra है, who is the one that is going to procure, that also we have discussed. So we have completed that. Only thing that is left in the PM ASHA scheme is the MSPs, how they are determined, how they are recommended, how they are released and all that. That we'll be doing in tomorrow's class. So please don't miss tomorrow's class. Very very important. The entire information related to MSPs, right from its history, when all it started and how it is calculated. Okay, all that we'll be discussing in tomorrow's class, and the rest of that उसके अलावा जो भी है, that all we have covered in the PSS scheme itself. Okay, now अभी तक हम इतना डिस्कस कर रहे हैं that farmers को लॉस नहीं होना चाहिए. मार्केट में जब बिग गलट आता है, in order to protect the farmers, the procurement agencies will jump in and help the farmers by procuring their produce, and this way the farmers will not be at a loss even during the glut and all that. बहुत कुछ हमने डिस्कस किया है, and we have seen that food grains, oil seeds, pulses, उन सब के लिए तो है. Then what about the horticulture produce? फूड ग्रेन्स में एटलीस्ट ये है कि दे हैव वेरी गुड लॉन्ग शेल्फ लाइफ, बट हॉर्टिकल्चर प्रोड्यूस they have very less shelf life. They're highly perishable goods. Now what is that mechanism that helps in for those horticulture producers? And there is another scheme for that, and that is market intervention scheme, that is MIS. Okay, now when we talk about this MIS, it is an ad hoc mechanism. It's not a permanent scheme कि नहीं होना ही होना जैसे MSPs का है. No, only at the request, when there is a glut in the market or when there is a price increase in the market, only then when the prices go down, immediately the state governments will request the central government to send the procurement agencies to procure them at a certain fixed price. That fixed price is fixed by the respective procurement agency only. How it is all done, we'll discuss now. But otherwise it is an ad hoc mechanism. Important. It is implemented on the request of the state governments for procurement of perishable and horticulture commodities in the event of a fall in the market prices. You must have noticed this, कई बार ऐसे न्यूज़ में आता है वहाँ पे अनियन का सडनली बहुत गलट आ गया है, prices fell down. So procurement agencies will come and procure and sell out in the market. You must have heard about that. Apples in Kashmir, majority of the many a times Himachal Pradesh में भी कई बार ये हुआ है कि market intervention scheme has been activated. Okay, now this works in similar fashion to minimum support prices based on the procurement mechanism for food grains, but it is an ad hoc mechanism. And it is implemented by the Department of Agriculture and Cooperation, and here NABARD is the one that is a nodal agency for running this scheme. Nodal procurement agency, if I should say. Okay, now what are the prerequisites for the state to come up with the request? Here there is at least an 10% increase in production or 10% decrease in the ruling rates over the previous normal year. So market के rates either कम हो गए हैं और production में ज़्यादा आ गया है. What will happen? Production ज़्यादा हो गया तो obviously there would be supply demand का mismatch. So that crashes the prices. So in such a case, the state has to request the central government to initiate this scheme in their state. Only then it would be activated. Okay. Now what is the objective? To protect the growers of these horticultural and agricultural commodities from making distressed sale in the event of a bumper crop. And here the proposal of MIS is approved on the specific request of the state or union territory government if they are ready to bear 50% loss, if any, incurred on its implementation. Obviously that would be there. They are purchasing it. जो मार्केट प्राइस है उससे ज्यादा देके कर रहे तो obviously that would be done at a loss only. So whatever the loss that they would incur, and they have to again resell, they can't store it, they have to resell in the market at that lowest price only. Okay, so in that case obviously loss would be there. जितना भी loss होता है उसमें 50-50, that is state government and central government has to share. But in case of northeastern states, they can share 25%, the rest 75% would be shared by the central government. Further, the extent of the total amount of loss shared is restricted to 25% of the total procurement value, which includes the cost of commodity procured plus permitted overhead expenses. So इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि chance दिया है तो the entire produce they have to procure. जैसे वहाँ पे 25% कैप है, यहाँ पे भी the loss, that the total amount of the loss shared is restricted to the 25% of the total procurement value. उससे ज़्यादा वो जाने नहीं देंगे. Okay, very very careful. There are few catch points here. And under this MIS, a predetermined quantity at a fixed MIP, market intervention price, is procured by NABARD as the central agency. Important. Who is that central agency? Which is that central agency that is involved? Who is going to fix that price? Who is going to fix that quantity? All that would be done by the NABARD under the purview of the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare only. Okay, important. Market intervention scheme बहुत ज़्यादा important है. Now currently so far this MIS has been implemented for various horticulture produce like apples, kinnu, garlic, oranges, galgal, grapes, mushrooms also, clove, black pepper, pineapple, ginger, red chilies, coriander seed, isabgol, chicory, onions and potatoes का बहुत ज़्यादा आता है. Cabbage, mustard seed, castor seed, copra, palm oil, and even apples also. And these are those states in which this has been implemented so far as at the request of the state, like Himachal Pradesh, Haryana, Punjab, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Rajasthan, Gujarat, all these states, they have one or the other time they have requested the central government to implement this particular scheme in their state in order to protect the interest of the growers. Okay, so this is all about the market intervention scheme. So till now we have discussed PSS, price support scheme for the regular, that is the field crop farmers, and we have also discussed a market intervention scheme for the growers of horticulture crops. And these are the various crops that have been already implemented or used under this particular scheme. Again, this would be important for RBI. Matlab kitna, what is a scheme and all that. Basic details only. When it comes to ARD schemes, बेसिक्स वुड बी इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर योर आरबीआई एग्जाम. उससे ज़्यादा वो बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरनली वो नहीं जाएंगे. एक्सक्यूज मी. एंड एक और पॉइंट दैट आई वांटेड टू टेल यू, FAQs already I have mentioned. Okay, all I have discussed. I keep on writing in my diary so that if there is any point that I missed, I can review that. Yes, now the forum is open for your queries, questions. जो आपके exam relevant है, that much I have covered. If you want to know more about that, you can go through the Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare. वहाँ आपको इसके guidelines, PSS के specific guidelines, you'll have a document. If you want to go through that, you can go through that as well. Mechanism always from the centralized procurement agencies in tandem with the state procurement agencies. As I've said, 3 days के time में they have to pay off the amount. And state government agencies, whenever they help the central government agencies, procurement agencies, whatever the stock they are procuring on their behalf, that have to be stored in the godown, and the warehouse receipts have to be generated in the name of the centralized procurement agencies. Okay. And one more important point I forgot to add. See, whenever the centralized agencies are procuring, like your NABARD and others, FCA and all that, the procurement centers and the farm, the storage one, if that is less than 30 kilometers, the expenses would be borne by the centralized agencies. If that goes beyond 30 kilometers, okay, if the procurement sites are beyond 30 kilometers from the storage site, then that all expenses would be borne by the state government or the state procurement agencies. Okay, एक पॉइंट मैं भूल गई थी तो सडनली याद आया. Yes, any questions, queries? Okay, since I'm not getting any queries, I'm winding up this session. So see you all tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow also we have a class. I know tomorrow it's शिवरात्रि, तो हम लोग सब लोग जागरण करते हैं. हम लोग एक स्कीम कर लेंगे. स्कीम से ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन. It won't be much long. I won't take much of your time, but it is very important कि once we do this, you have to have an understanding of the MIS-PSS as well. How it is all done, क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ में है. So there is high likely chance that you can get questions on that in the examination. Okay, so with this I'm winding up the session. Thank you very much once again. Please take good care of yourself. Take care. Bye bye. Good night.